All right, get ready, because we're diving headfirst into the world of Moroccan football. We're going to figure out how this North African nation has become such a powerhouse on the global stage. You've probably seen their amazing World Cup run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're going deeper than just the headlines, using this really cool football podcast episode as our guide.
Yeah, it's so interesting how they've changed everyone's perception of what African football can be. It's amazing.
It really is. And when you take a closer look, it's not just about one big moment in the spotlight. It's been this carefully built journey over years. So let's start with a player whose name you might recognize. Hakim Ziyech, a.k.a. the Wizard. His story is almost like a football fairy tale.
It really is. Just think about it. He started in Dronten, Netherlands, and rose through the ranks to win the Champions League with Chelsea. But it's not just about the trophies for him. Remember that 2019 Champions League semifinal with Ajax? They were total underdogs, up against giants like Real Madrid and Juventus. Ziyech led them with so much skill and determination, they almost pulled off the impossible.
That's what's so inspiring about Ziyech. He's faced setbacks, like tough times at Chelsea.
Yeah.
But his loyalty to Morocco, it never wavered. I think that says a lot.
Oh, absolutely. That commitment was clear to see during Morocco's historic 2022 World Cup run. And it wasn't just a few good plays here and there. He was a driving force, a leader on that field.
Totally. Speaking of leaders, let's talk about Achraf Hakimi. From Real Madrid's academy to one of the best fullbacks in the world. His journey is seriously impressive. Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, PSG. He's taken on every challenge thrown at him. But what I find remarkable is how he's redefined the fullback position.
You're right. He's not just about defense. Hakimi's speed and his awareness of the game make him a threat on offense, too. Do you remember those incredible runs down the sideline during the World Cup?
Oh, yeah.
Creating chances, getting assists, basically changing how we see fullbacks today.
It was electrifying. And his impact on Morocco's success? Well, it can't be overstated. Reaching the semifinals, the first African nation ever to do so. That was a moment that really changed the landscape of global football.
It definitely did. It showed everyone that African football is a force to be reckoned with, a source of incredible talent and really innovative tactics. This wasn't just luck, This was the result of years of planning and developing Moroccan football. We'll get into that later.
Right. And let's not forget about Youssef En-Nesyri, that striker who just seems to have this knack for scoring the most crucial goals. His strength in the air is amazing, dominating the Liga with those powerful headers.
Oh, man, that header against Portugal in the World Cup quarterfinals, pure magic. That's a goal that will be remembered forever in Moroccan football history. These players, Ziyech, Hakimi, and Nesyri, they're not just individuals. They represent this whole new generation of talent coming out of Morocco.
Yeah, they're symbols of this football renaissance in Morocco. But it's important to remember that their individual talent is just one piece of a much bigger story.
You're absolutely right. Their success is part of a larger movement, a really strategic approach to building up football in Morocco. Remember when we mentioned Morocco winning the FIFA Futsal Confederations Cup?
Yeah.
That win, along with their climb in the futsal rankings, it really shows how dedicated they are to this sport at every level.
It's like they're creating this whole football ecosystem.
Yeah.
Nurturing talent from the ground up.
Yeah.
And speaking of nurturing talent, this podcast episode talks about the Moroccan diaspora. And it's really fascinating. You see players like Ziyech and Hakimi, born in Europe but choosing to play for Morocco. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it just goes to show the incredible connection these players feel to their heritage. It's not just about bringing those European training techniques to the team. It's about identity, pride, wanting to be part of something bigger than themselves. They're bridging cultures, showcasing the beauty of Moroccan football to the world, inspiring a new generation.
It's incredibly inspiring. Imagine the impact this has on young Moroccans, both in the country and all over the world. These players become symbols of success, proving that with dedication and talent, you can achieve anything, no matter where you come from.
Exactly. And that pride, that shared identity, it goes beyond the players themselves. It connects with the fans, creating a sense of unity and belonging. It's almost like the whole nation is behind this team, pushing them to reach new heights.
It's amazing. So this brings us to the future of Moroccan football. What does this podcast episode say about the systems they have in place to make sure this success isn't just a one-time thing?
Well, one key thing is institutions like the Mohammed VI Football Academy. These academies are more than just training grounds. They're centers of excellence, providing world-class facilities and coaching to develop the next wave of talent. It's a long-term vision, investing in the future of Moroccan football.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, relying solely on individual talent. They're building a pipeline of talent, a sustainable system for success. And that's what makes me optimistic about the future of Moroccan and really African football.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about the infrastructure. It's about building a culture of excellence, believing they can compete with the best in the world.
Yeah. So what stood out to you as particularly insightful in this podcast episode?
It was the emphasis on the holistic approach Morocco has taken. They haven't just focused on making star players. They've put resources into every part of the game, from grassroots programs to coaching education to state-of-the-art facilities. It's that big picture vision that's allowed them to achieve such incredible success.
It's like they've created a blueprint for other African nations to follow, a roadmap to success on the world stage. Now, bring it back to you, the listener. Think about what Morocco's journey means. What does it tell you about the potential of African football?
It makes us rethink what we assume about the global football landscape. For too long, African football has been underestimated, overlooked. But Morocco has shown that with the right investment, strategy, and belief, anything is possible. And what's really exciting is that we're just at the beginning. We're watching a rebirth of African football, and Morocco is leading the way.
It's a story that's still being written, and I have a feeling the next chapter will be even more amazing. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned today.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about these amazing players, but what else is going on?
Right. So Morocco isn't just relying on individual talent. They've been really strategic about developing football in the whole country. Remember we mentioned they won the FIFA Futsal Confederations Cup? That, plus how they're climbing in the futsal rankings, shows how committed they are to the sport from top to bottom.
It's like they're building a complete football system, bringing up talent from the very beginning. And speaking of developing talent, this podcast episode talks about the Moroccan diaspora. It's a pretty fascinating angle. You see players like Ziyech and Hakimi born in Europe, but they choose to represent Morocco. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it shows how strongly these players identify with their heritage. It's more than just bringing those European training methods to the team. It's about their identity, their pride. It's like they want to contribute to something bigger than themselves. They're bridging different cultures, showing the world how beautiful Moroccan football is, and they're inspiring a whole new generation.
It's really inspiring. Just think about how this impacts young Moroccans, both in Morocco and around the world. These players become examples of success, proving that with hard work and talent, you could achieve anything, no matter where you come from.
Exactly. And that sense of pride, that shared identity, it goes beyond just the players. It connects with the fans, too, creating this feeling of unity. Like the entire nation is behind the team, pushing them to do even better.
It's really something. So that leads us to the future of Moroccan football. What does this podcast episode tell us about the systems in place to make sure this success lasts?
Well, one key thing is institutions like the Mohammed VI Football Academy. These academies are more than just places to train. They're like centers of excellence with world-class facilities and coaching, all meant to develop the next generation of talent. It's a long-term vision, investing in the future of Moroccan football.
So they're not just banking on individual brilliance. They're creating a whole pipeline of talent, a system built for sustained success. And that's what makes me so optimistic about the future of Moroccan and really African football in general.
Exactly. And it goes beyond the infrastructure. It's about building a culture of excellence, a belief that they can compete with the best in the world.
I agree. So what really struck you as insightful in this podcast episode?
Well, for me, it was the emphasis on the holistic approach Morocco has taken. They haven't just focused on creating star players. They've invested in every aspect of the game, from those grassroots programs to coaching education to top-notch facilities. It's that comprehensive vision that has enabled them to achieve such a remarkable success.
Yeah, it's like they've created a blueprint for other African nations to follow, a roadmap to achieving success on the world stage. Now, I want to bring it back to you, the listener, for a moment. Think about what Morocco's journey represents. What does it tell you about the potential of African football as a whole?
It challenges us to reevaluate our assumptions about the global football landscape. African football has been underestimated and overlooked for far too long. But Morocco is proving that with the right investment, the right strategies, and unwavering belief, anything is possible. And the really exciting part, this is just the beginning. We're witnessing a resurgence of African football, and Morocco is leading the charge.
It's a story that's still unfolding. And I have a feeling the next chapter is going to be even more amazing. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's pause and consider what we've learned today. We started this deep dive talking about individual players like Ziyech and Hakimi, and their incredible journeys to the top of the football world. We explored how they've become symbols of national pride, inspiring young Moroccans and challenging how the world sees African football.
Yeah, and we went deeper than that. We looked at the reasons behind Morocco's success, the investment in youth academies, those strategic development programs, and the impact of institutions like the Mohammed VI Football Academy.
We even touched on their dominance in futsal, showing their commitment to the sport at every level. It's clear that Morocco's rise isn't just a fluke, it's the result of a carefully planned vision, carried out with so much passion and determination.
And that vision has had a ripple effect, inspiring other African nations to invest in football and nurture their own talent. What's exciting is that we're seeing this impact not just in Africa, but on the global stage, too.
All right, think about it. More African players are making their mark in top European leagues, showing off their skills and raising the profile of African football worldwide. And with continued investment and support, we might see even more African nations competing for the top spots in future World Cups.
It's a pretty amazing thought, isn't it? Imagine a World Cup where multiple African teams consistently make it to the knockout stages, challenging those traditional powerhouses from Europe and South America.
It would completely change the landscape of global football. And who knows, maybe we'll even see an African nation lifting the World Cup trophy in the near future.
Now, that would be a moment for the history books. But even without winning a World Cup, the impact of Morocco's success is undeniable. They've shown what's possible, and they've inspired a whole generation of players and fans across Africa.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Keep your eye on African football. The next generation of stars is coming up, and they're ready to take the world by storm, explore their stories, follow their journeys, and witness the unfolding of a new chapter in this beautiful game.
Because what we're seeing now is just the beginning. The future of African football is bright, and it's something we should all be excited to witness.
And on that note of optimism and anticipation, we conclude our deep dive into the world of Moroccan football. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that passion for the beautiful game alive.